Hi, I'm Cheryl Kagan, very proud to be the Senator for Gaithersburg and Rockville. Welcome to this week's edition of Kibbitzing with Kagan, brief conversations with people I find fascinating. So today I have a really awesome guest, which is the Secretary of the Environment, Serena McIlwain. Madam Secretary, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to chat with me.
It's my pleasure.
So we have a ton to cover, so I'm going to dive right in. Your background is amazing, and I knew of you before the offer was made, before all of that, and we are so thrilled to have you here. So you are local to the DMV. You grew up in Alexandria. You got your BA at Strayer, a master's at Central Michigan, and then a master's in public administration. You came back to this area to George Mason. I think it's cool that you worked for the architect of the U.S. Capitol. So talk about what that was like.
It was amazing. That was my best job. It was so much fun. At the architect of the Capitol, basically, we are responsible for all the grounds on Capitol Hill, including the Senate office buildings, the Ford buildings, the botanical gardens, the Capitol, all the beautiful paintings you see in the Capitol building, all of that, the gyms, the restaurants on Capitol Hill, the Congressional, or is it the Congressional Visitor Center? All of that is under us. So it's a big project management office. We also, the cool thing, we put on the inauguration every year. We build the stage, we give out the VIP tickets, and we work with Congress to make sure that's a special day. So
when you say every year, you mean
every 4 years? Sorry.
No. I just want to make sure, like, is
not every year, the inauguration, every inauguration.
What was it like to watch TV on January 6th?
Oh, it was, it made me cry because I worked there, and all of my colleagues are still at the architect of the Capitol, and everybody was calling me and they were crying. And I was just, thinking we would be there.
Yes.
We would be running back and forth to the Capitol that day. And we had our superintendent at the Capitol. So it was sad. It just made us all very sad. And we were sad for a long time. And the people who work there, they're never, ever going to forget it.
Yeah. So sad, and for me, angry. How can these alleged patriots destroy or attempt to destroy and succeed in some ways of destroying the biggest symbol of our democracy?
Yes, it's, people go too far. It's just an example of when you go too far. You might believe in something, your heart might be in it, but don't ever go too far. And that was a real example of going just too far.
So I don't want to go too far off the tracks here, but is there anything that you want to share, something that couldn't be fixed or shouldn't be fixed because there should be some memorial of that insurrection, in your opinion, or to your knowledge, either way?
I haven't followed it that much in terms of fixing it. You mean fixing the fact that they were able to penetrate and get through?
Literally fixing the door, the window, the desks, I wonder if there's some mark of it that somebody says should be kept, like the bullet holes from an assassination attempt in the Louisiana state capitol, and that is kept on purpose and not repaired.
Yeah, I don't think that's a great question, one that I did not ask my colleagues over at the architect of the Capitol, but that is something we would be responsible for. Yeah. But I'm not sure if they're going to do that. It was just such a painful day. I don't know if they would do that.
Well, that's not why we're here to talk here. But you went to the U.S. Department of Agency. You worked on fossil energy, which I think is fascinating, and then shifted to the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, before you headed to California. So let's just stay in Washington for a bit, working on energy policy. And it fascinated me that you worked in the Obama administration and stayed on for a chunk of the Trump administration. So tell us anything about any of that.
So that's a misconception. So when I worked for the federal government, I was a senior executive level. They call it SES.
Yep.
I've always been a career federal employee, not a political appointee. So the Obama administration, any administration, they come and they go, we
Yes.
stay. So of course I was going to stay regardless of who won. So that's, I wasn't a political appointee for the Obamas.
But the policy changes must have been
The
significant.
policy changes were significant.
That's,
And that
yeah.
was scary. That was scary. I mean, wow. So yeah, it was sad. I mean, back to the word I use, sad. Just
Yeah.
to see all that we had worked for so long, for 8 years, you know, doing great things,
Yeah.
protecting the American people, putting in regulations in place that protect, and to see all of it go away, or the potential of all of it going away, made all of our hearts just really painful, just really painful.
Yeah, no, I can't even imagine. That's why it was noteworthy that that you were so committed to serving that you
I
stayed
was.
on, because it just must have been, yeah, hard.
It's
Well,
tough.
you then ran 3,000 miles away.
I did.
I don't
I
blame
did. I did.
And you were the Undersecretary of California's EPA, Environmental Protection Agency. Why don't you talk about what you're proudest of, what you accomplished in California?
Oh, we accomplished so much. Oh my goodness. In California, we had a lot of natural disasters that actually kept us busy. And even though we were working on a lot of regulations for air pollution, climate change, pesticides, all of that was under us as well. The Department of Toxics and Substance Control is under me and Cal EPA, as well as the Environmental Health and Hazard Office, which is the scientific office, and Cal Recycle was under us. So we had a total of about 6,500 people. So, I mean, I had, I don't know, probably 35 senior executives. Some were gubernatorial, you know, Senate confirmed directors. So it was a big a big agency to work at. Some of the things that we accomplished as an agency, as you know, there was a lot of EOs we did, and I helped write those.
Oh, executive orders.
Executive orders. Yeah, sorry, I made I was hoping never to do it. I did it anyway. We work very closely with the governor and work with him to create an executive order regarding environmental justice, and that was just key. I was very proud of it. He made it the highest priority in the entire state of California.
Why don't you talk about what environmental justice is for folks who may not be familiar with that term?
Yes, environmental justice is, you know, making sure that there is environmental justice for all people, all communities. And that includes disadvantaged communities where income is an indicator, a race is an indicator, and all of these different factors that make those communities different. And sometimes there's a term we use too, is overburden. And overburden is where there's overburden amount of pollution.
Yes.
In those areas, right? In all ways. And so environmental justice is making sure that we are protecting those groups, and we are doing everything we can to make decisions and create regulations that protect those groups that haven't been protected for so long.
Right. So folks don't often think about this, but the toxic dump, you know, goes in the poor community, goes in the community that has disproportionate people of color, and they may not have the clout, the voice, the activism to block it or to get it moved or mitigate it in some way. So yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So let's talk about coming to Maryland, back to Maryland. So you had lived in Bowie, you were from this area. What was the interview process? What was it like getting the call from the governor?
Oh man, it was amazing. So I had just signed up for another 4 years with Governor Gavin Newsom in California. He had just won re-election, and the appointment secretary, they came around and asked all of us, were we willing to stay another 4 years? And I said, oh yes, of course I am. And I told them I'm not sure about 4 years, but I certainly do plan to continue on. And the next thing I know, I had gone to Japan for a delegation with the legislators, and other agency heads, cabinet members, and I got a phone call saying that I was being looked at for the position of Secretary of Maryland's Department of the Environment.
Right.
And it just came out of nowhere. And I thought, really, you're looking at me in California? And I just thought, wow, what a great idea for me to go back to Maryland to do what I do here in California for Marylanders, for my family. It was an amazing idea. And then I didn't hear anything else.
And did you know, was Westmore on your radar screen at all?
I did not know.
Okay.
I mean, I knew that Westmore had just won election.
Yes.
The election, he was the governor
Right.
of Maryland. I knew that, but I was surprised that my name was given to them somehow.
Okay.
And anyway, I come back from Japan and I get another phone call saying, hey, congratulations, you've moved up in the process. And I thought, I'm in the process? Okay, that's great. And I had an interview. And so I was already in DC the week they asked me to come.
Nice.
I was working on Capitol Hill and working with the Environmental Council of States for the US, for the entire country. We were working on environmental justice issues.
Yes.
And so I came here and I had the interview. I thought it went well.
With whom?
The interview was with the Deputy Chief of Staff, the Lieutenant Governor, and an expert from the University of Maryland.
Nice. Okay.
Yes. So I had the interview in person, and then I went on with my business and, continued working on the Hill. And then I got another phone call on Thursday, saying that, hey, we want to interview you again. You've, made it to the second round. And I thought, okay, great. I'm still here because I was leaving on that Sunday. Had the interview. That went well. And Sunday, when I was in my car on my way back to the airport, to get to California, I get a call saying, hey, the governor wants to interview you today. And I said, oh my goodness, I'm on my way to the airport, but let me change my ticket. I go in and I changed it to the next day, actually, the next morning. And that was a Monday morning, so I was late for work, but that's okay. Anyway, I go in and have the interview with the governor and the chief of staff, and the rest is history. And I get back home, and about 2 days later, right between December, after Christmas and New Year's, I was told that the governor was, after they checked my references, the governor would call Governor Gavin Newsom and let him know that he was selecting me as part of his cabinet as a courtesy. And then he himself would call me. Yes. And that's exactly what happened.
Well, I have to tell you, as I said, word on the street was you're going to be blown away by our environment secretary, and people don't know her here yet, but she's fantastic. And So, okay. So now let's pivot. So we're so glad you're here.
Thank you.
So you arrived. What did you inherit from the Hogan administration? Now, in general, I'm a partisan Democrat, but I also love working with Republican colleagues and stuff. Ben Grumbles, former Secretary of the Environment, Ben Grumbles, was seen as one of the good guys and one of the more collaborative people in an administration that wasn't so focused on the environment. What did you inherit? What was your vacancy rate when you arrived? How much of a, I don't know, ditch did you have to undig or something?
I actually inherited a workforce of professionals. I inherited well-known national leaders in the program areas. I was stunned. I was grateful. And I came in thinking that, I'm new. I need to bring in new people and really turn this place around, particularly from all that I heard about the previous administration. It was not the case. These people, these professionals were dedicated professionals, smart, and they had been suffering because they weren't able to hire. And so I inherited the issue of, hey, we can't hire. And I just very easily undid that. I undid that very quickly and said, no, we will hire.
What was your vacancy rate when you arrived?
The vacancy rate it wasn't that bad. It was about, I believe, 13%.
That's about what I'm hearing from most secretaries, 13 to 15%.
It was about 13%. And so already we've gotten it down to just a little under 10%.
Nice.
So we ramped up quickly. I inherited in terms of enforcement, it didn't seem like enforcement was a real priority.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But it didn't mean the people in the agency didn't want to. They did. It was
Okay.
just when you don't have resources,
Right.
you can't really do your job. And
Yeah.
so I made sure right away they got the resources they needed and the authority to move forward with enforcement and do what we need to do to make sure those laws that we are we're protecting and the regulations that we're responsible for, that, you know, we're making sure it happens.
Right. So the Moore Miller administration launched January 18th was Inauguration Day. The legislative session, 90 days, had already started. How did the session go for you? Did you have priorities? What did you accomplish? What's going to have to lay over for future years? Give us an idea of how the early months have gone so far.
Well, it was so new to me. I mean, I've never started a job when we're right in the middle of session.
Right.
So it was incredible. Not only that, I started a job where I needed to be confirmed.
Yes.
And I had to build relationships with the committees, and I had to deal with issues that were going on that the legislators wanted to know about, that were happening in my agency. And so for me, it was drinking from a fire hose.
Yeah.
I could barely think. It was so much going on. I had never had that experience in my life. But at the same time, I was volunteering to speak at hearings for which I knew hardly anything about. But I wanted to do it.
You
Thank
came
you.
before my committee.
I did.
So for folks who may not know, so I'm vice chair of education, energy, we've renamed and rejiggered the jurisdiction, energy, education, energy, and the environment. And so a lot of your jurisdiction, we are in the heart of, and you came and testified and you did a magnificent job. We were
thank you.
super impressed.
Thank you so much for that. I was trying to learn quickly, trying to establish what my own strategy would be. But it was so many areas coming to me, as you know, the wastewater treatment issue, Chesapeake Bay restoration issues, total maximum daily load issues, you know, the pollution issues, and suing US EPA. It was just so much. And I didn't have to appear, but I wanted the legislature to know that you will have access to me.
Nice.
And so I just pushed myself out there to do it. So it was a lot.
Were there any bills that you were especially proud of that passed, or frustrated, disappointed that didn't move this year?
Yes, one that I was very disappointed and frustrated was the bill. I don't recall the number, but it was relating to cumulative impacts and cumulative impacts in terms of us looking at permits and making sure that when we are approving permits, we are looking at it from a pollution load, a cumulative impact, right, that we're having on the environmental injustice, as I said before, and disadvantaged communities. I wanted that bill so badly because I needed it. I needed to be my cover when we're looking, you know, at permits and making sure that we're looking at those things. So it was a disappointment to me.
Longer runway, maybe, you know, next year, you know, more time. You've got chicken litter to deal with. There's wind power, offshore wind power. There's electric vehicle charging stations. There was a lot that we talk about on so many of your issues.
It was so many. Well, everything else, you know, with the electric vehicles, and what really wasn't a bill per se, when I first came in, the first thing I wanted to do was make sure that we got back on board with the California's ACC2, which is the Advanced Clean Cars 2 Act. And I wanted to make sure we did that, and we did. So we signed it and we're back on track, making sure that, you know, in 2035, we have electric vehicles. Going forward, we'll still have gas vehicles, but you won't be able to sell well, manufacturers. We want them to make only electric vehicles after that time. So we lost a year, but we're back on.
Okay. It's so interesting how California is such a code word for both environmentalists and people who are not so much that.
No.
Oh, are we going to go like California? It's like, damn right. Let's do that. So
I know. You know, I was asked that question in my confirmation hearing.
uh-huh.
And I said this and I mean it. Everything, however, that we do and that was done, I'm no longer there in California, doesn't always work for Maryland. So I look at it, what's best for Maryland, not California.
It's the right question. What are your key goals for the coming year? What priorities are you thinking about?
So some of my key goals is one, again, environmental justice. I want to make sure that we right the wrong that's been done for so many years. I want to connect with the communities, and I've started listening tours with all of them. And I will be traveling the entire state, really listening and trying to make a difference. And I've said it before, but no more rhetoric. We're going for results, which again is why that legislation would have helped me.
Yes.
The second thing is I noticed that we have a lot of permits that were administratively extended. I don't want that to happen anymore. So I'm making sure we clear that backlog up immediately.
Yes.
So that's another priority. The other priority is all about performance improvement. So we're looking at permits. We're looking at permits and trying to reimagine how we're doing permits to make them faster.
Good.
Right? And to make sure that industry understands you will get your permit done timely.
Yes.
We will work with you to have metrics in place. And so that's a priority for me, making sure that we are the most efficient and customer service agency in the state of Maryland. That's a priority.
You're sounding like our governor, which is all about that, which is awesome.
And
much,
climate change, of course, is my priority.
All right, so let's just, oh my gosh, I still have so many millions of questions here. How much control do you have versus regional, like on the Chesapeake Bay versus federal? How much can you get done yourself? How much can we do here in Maryland to kind of move the needle?
Initially, with just being here 4.5 months, I would say not much control. It's a partnership. There are so many commissions. You got the Chesapeake Bay Foundation, Chesapeake Trust, the oh my goodness, the Maryland Commission of Climate Change. So we all are working together.
Yes.
So in terms of the Chesapeake Bay, the fact that we have other states that are responsible for their accountability of pollution in the Chesapeake Bay, I can't do anything on my own. Right. I need the support of everyone, the US EPA, Environmental Protection Agency, and all the partners. So we do a lot in terms of in the water area, right? We are, really making sure that we're having more inspections. I can control that. So where we're giving permits, we're going to make sure we're doubling the inspections we used to have. So we can control some piece of it that way. But in terms of overall health of the Chesapeake Bay, it takes a village. It's taking all of us.
So as I have kibitzed with other members of the cabinet, I have talked about your domain. And it seems like this cabinet is so focused on interconnectedness and partnerships. So when I chatted with Secretary Chowdhury at the Department of General Services, we talked about recycling and trash and green buildings, and Secretary Flora on smart growth with the Department of Planning and stuff. Can you give an example of an exciting initiative that you're thinking about that would embrace and work with, partner with other agencies, other departments?
Well, as part of the Climate Solutions Now Act, there's a building component where we need to electrify buildings, right? And so I would be working very closely with Department of General Services. So that's one area we will definitely partner with. Everything to do with the Chesapeake Bay.
Yes.
All the new ideas and innovations that I'm thinking about, I'm doing that in concert with the Department of Natural Resources.
Yep.
And we have the agricultural division or agency. And there's a lot of working with agriculture because, you know, it's a protected sector. And I need to work so closely with my counterpart at the Department of Maryland Department of Agriculture.
Yes.
So we're going to be working on lots of things when it comes to non-point sources, right? And which comes from the agricultural in a lot of ways. So we're going to be working on that. And then last, I'll say with Maryland Department of Transportation,
yes.
EVs, and you know, we want the electric vehicles and the infrastructure. Yeah. So we're working with, you know, Department of Transportation. We're working with the Department of Budget and Management on the infrastructure, the funding part, and the Department of General Services. So we're all going to be one, all hands on deck.
I love that. I love that. Talk about your partnerships with county and city folks. What sort of opportunities are there for municipal leaders or county leaders to work with you on initiatives?
I'm not quite sure yet what initiatives that I'm going to pull forward, but we do, you know, we give delegated authority to municipalities and counties. So, oh, excuse me. There are areas in which I like to dig a little deeper into, like the health department. You know, we work with the health departments of a lot of counties. And so we're going to be looking at making that stronger and working with those counties on that. I think that would be a good initiative to start thinking about. And that's it. I really can't think of right now at this point what projects.
It's early. I just want to try to.
It's early.
I still have several questions before we get to our Fast Five. Maryland has banned or regulated a whole lot of toxic chemicals. I was thinking about neonicotinoids and chlorpyrifos and PFAS and coal tar and so many. Are there any toxic chemicals, because you referenced toxic, is there anything that Maryland hasn't acted on that we need to be considering in order to keep Marylanders safe?
Right now, I would say the most important one that I'm focused on is PFAS. Yeah. And so I know you want me to spell that out, but that one will be tough.
No. Everybody knows it is PFAS. I can say neonicotinoids, and
I noticed you did. You're really good. But PFAS is one of those chemicals, you know, the forever chemicals, and it's in everything. And we're going to really pay close attention to it more than we have been. And we're going to be putting a lot of resources in that area.
Good, good. I'm going to give a shout out to my my friend and colleague, Senator Elfreth from the Annapolis district, District 30, who's been a real leader on that, among others. Food waste is the third largest contributor to greenhouse gases. I know that you spoke recently with Jeff Salkin and the folks at the TV show State Circle and Maryland Public Television about composting. Anything you want to say here about composting? Because I'm a devoted composter, actually. My tea leaves, my eggshells, my all that goes straight up there, and I end up with beautiful soil.
Happy to hear. I'd like to expand the program at MDE. I feel that we don't put enough emphasis on it right now. I understand a lot of that is delegated to counties. We track it from a high level. I'd like for us to do a lot more education. And I'm elevating recycling, period, at MDE. So I'm going to need a lot of help from you and others as we think about new laws and new, regulations where we can get a little more aggressive when it comes to food waste and education about it and recycling in general. That's really important to me. I had Cal Recycle under me in California. And so I see a gap here that I think we can really highlight.
There are some parts of the states, and I'll brag about my district. I mean, Rockville and Gaithersburg have, and all of Montgomery County have very aggressive recycling. I can toss almost anything into my recycling bins. And there's some places on the shore and elsewhere that have nothing. And even when you go to large institutions, the Ocean City Convention Center, it makes me crazy the amount of waste, even if we could make little bits of progress. But we need to have a market for recyclables, but we need to have the services picked up.
It all contributes to climate change. I mean, we really have to get a handle on it, and we cannot just continue to have unnecessary trash in the landfills that can be diverted to recycling and used differently. And that sounds easy, but we also have to look into recycling and make sure that it is usable. Yes. And that we have a good system in place for the recycles. That's something I will be looking into.
Good for you. Average person watching this, what can they do to do their part on climate, to help be a part of the solution to our climate crisis?
Start being aware. And start thinking of all the ways that you can make a difference. One small change is a lot when you look at the bigger picture. So again, recycling, separate your trash. That's real simple. Mm-hmm. If you have an electric car or a gas car, start thinking about the future. You might want to start thinking about getting an electric car one day. I know we all love gas stoves. Think about maybe you can look at the induction stove. They actually work really well. Mm. So little things like that, little things make a difference.
Great. The last thing, you are a member of CHIEF, which is for women executives. Talk about that and how that has served you as a powerful female executive.
It was an amazing experience being a part of CHIEF. You have all of these women CEOs and chief operating officers, and we all come together and talk about our issues and how to be strong as women and how to be at the table and make good decisions and be bold, and it's been incredible. We have been exposed to so many powerful women who come and talk with us almost weekly, right? And you can do it on the weekends, it's videos. So it's been incredible hearing the journeys of all these women. We've come a long way.
Yes.
And so it gives me more power and just more energy to just keep doing what I do and not making excuses for being a woman.
Amen.
Right?
Just and there's a long way to go. There's still a long way to go.
Long way.
Is there anything before we go to the Fast Five? Is there anything that I didn't ask you about because I've had to skip some stuff? Anything that you want to share, that you want to brag about here before we start to wrap?
No, I think I've bragged a lot.
With good reason.
Good reason.
So, Secretary of the Environment, Serena Coleman McIlwain. 5 quick questions, our Fast Five quick answers to let folks get to know you better. So question number 1, what is your favorite fast food restaurant?
If I ate meat, which I don't, it would be Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Okay. Question 2, what is the app on your phone that you use the most?
Oh, that's a good one.
Not counting your camera.
Yeah, it's called, it's Power something. It's where you put all your photos and videos and you make your own videos.
Nice.
I don't remember the name of it though. It starts with a P.
Okay.
But that's my go-to. I use it every single night.
Nice. Okay. Question 3, what is your favorite genre of music?
Jazz.
Nice. Okay. Question 4, you've got a really stressful job and you're really busy and doing an awesome job. What do you do to relax?
I have a regimen that I've had for the last 15 years, almost 16, and I've never missed a night doing it. Every night I get home, I run my bath water, I put candles all around, I put on classical music, I have different lights that I put in the bathroom, I can use a remote, and I go in and I just relax for an hour.
Wow.
I do it every single night and I look forward to it. I'm recharged. Oh, it's the best thing ever.
5 nights a week or 7?
7.
Unbelievable. So I had
7.
a goal. I have to pivot for a second. I had a goal to take a bubble bath once a month. And
Oh my,
I couldn't even find the time to do it once a month.
oh my
But
goodness.
I'm always so proud when I get to do it, and I have a glass of wine and music and the candles, like I do all the things. But yeah, once a month, and I can't even get to that. It's ridiculous.
You would be surprised of how it brings you down and
Yeah,
all your worries go. No
right.
stress. Yeah.
Amazing. I'm very impressed. Question number 5. Secretary Serena McIlwain, what is your hidden secret superpower? What's a skill or talent you have, something you're really good at that most folks can't do?
I'm an interior decorator, and I can go into a blank place, 4x4 walls, white, and I can make it a masterpiece in my head in 10 minutes. Literally.
That's amazing. Okay,
And that's everything. The colors, I visualized the furniture, new walls, new whatever. I can make it a true masterpiece. I'm known for that. A lot of people, most people can't do that.
the jaw is dropped. I think that might be the coolest superpower in almost 200 kibitzes. That might be one of the very coolest. That's awesome. Well, Secretary McIlwain, thank you for coming to Maryland or back to Maryland. Thank you for what you do, what you have done, and what you will do. And I'm so honored for the opportunity to get to know you and work with you, and look forward to collaborating to make Maryland greener and safer in the years to come.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to working with you very closely.
Thank you. Stay well. See you soon.
Thank you.